Ever find yourself kind of lost in the music, wondering how a track comes together so flawlessly?
It's easy to just get swept away by the sound.
Yeah, totally. Well, get ready to go behind the music because today we're diving deep into the world of recording studio technicians.
Pulling back the curtain to see how those polished tracks, the ones we love, go from like raw sound waves to sonic masterpieces.
Exactly. And with all the RoleCatcher resources you shared with us, it seems like you're interested in more than just enjoying the music. Maybe you're thinking, could I actually do this for a living?
It's a question a lot of music lovers have. And honestly, the world of recording studios, it can seem pretty mysterious.
Right. Like, what really goes on behind those soundproof doors?
Well, most people don't realize how much complexity there is behind those tracks. It seems effortless, but there's so much going on, a blend of science, art, and real collaboration.
It's a hidden world for sure. So let's start with the basics. What exactly does a recording studio technician do all day?
I like how RoleCatcher puts it. They call them the architects of audio, which I think is spot on. They're basically responsible for every sonic detail, every little sound you hear in a recording.
Wow, so from like the placement of a microphone to the final track we stream online?
Exactly. They're there for the whole sonic journey, from the initial setup to that final master you hear on Spotify or Apple Music. It all passes through their hands.
Okay, so it's way more than just hitting record, right? What does that actually look like in the studio? Paint us a picture.
Okay, so imagine this. A band walks into the studio, instruments in hand, buzzing with energy, ready to record their latest hit, right?
I can almost hear it now.
The recording studio technician is one who takes that raw energy, that excitement, and helps shape it into a polished product.
So how do they do that?
Well, they work closely with the musicians to get the perfect sound for each instrument. They're adjusting microphone placement, maybe suggesting the guitars try a different amp.
It's about more than just technical stuff, though, right?
Oh, absolutely. There's a lot of creative collaboration happening, too.
Yeah.
A big part of their job is using the mixing panel. That's where they control the volume and effects for each track to make sure everything blends together perfectly.
It's like they're the conductor of an orchestra, but instead of instruments, they're shaping sound waves.
Exactly. And, a good technician, they not only know how to use all the equipment, but they also have this deep understanding of acoustics, how sound works in a space.
Right, like how different instruments and sounds interact.
You got it. They know which microphones to use for certain instruments, how to position everything to get the best sound. It's pretty amazing when you think about it.
It really is. It sounds like a career that demands both a technical mind and a creative ear, which is a pretty cool combo. Do they ever actually coach the musicians too? Like give them feedback on their performance?
All the time.
Yeah.
Think of them as a guide in the studio. They might say, give a vocalist tips on their microphone technique, how to get that perfect, intimate sound, or work with a guitarist on how to achieve a specific tone.
It makes sense. They're there throughout the entire recording process.
Right, and a good technician, they're as much a collaborator as they are a technical expert, because ultimately they're helping those musicians translate their musical vision into reality.
That makes so much sense. It's really a partnership in a lot of ways. But speaking of the technical side of things,
Hmm.
what about all the tech itself? I've heard these acronyms thrown around, DAWs, MP3s, WAVs. It's practically a whole new language.
It can definitely feel that way. There's a lot to unpack, for sure.
There is. So where do we even start?
Let's start with the control center of any modern recording studio. The DAW, which stands for Digital Audio Workstation.
Okay, so that's the software, right?
Exactly. And this software, it's completely revolutionized music production. Back in the day, we had those bulky tape recorders, but now we have these insanely powerful programs that are like a multi-track recorder, an editor, and a mixing board all rolled into one.
So it's like having an entire recording studio crammed into your computer?
Basically. And you can do so much with them.
It's amazing. But wouldn't that kind of make the recording studio technician's job obsolete? I mean, if the software can do so much.
You know what? It's actually the opposite. See, these powerful tools, they make a skilled technician even more important.
Really? How so?
Well, take different audio formats as an example. You mentioned MP3s and WAVs earlier, right?
Right.
So an MP3, that's a compressed file. It's great for saving space on your phone,
Right.
but you lose some of the audio quality in the compression.
Like when you can hear that a track is low quality.
Exactly. But a WAV file, that's uncompressed. It captures all the sonic details, every nuance, every breath.
So a WAV file is going to be a much larger file size.
Exactly. And a skilled recording studio technician, They understand those nuances. They know which format to use for recording, which to use for editing, and ultimately which one is best for mastering the final track.
Oh, mastering. There's another one of those music industry terms I hear but don't totally understand.
Yeah, mastering, it can sound kind of mysterious. Think of it like this. Mastering is the final polish on a track. It's the sonic glow-up that takes a song from, a good recording to something you'd hear on the radio.
Okay, I'm starting to get it. So it's like the final layer that makes everything sound polished and professional.
Yes, it's where they balance the volume, fine-tune the frequencies, and basically get it ready to sound amazing on any speaker or device.
So it's not just about making the music loud, it's about making it sound good.
Exactly. And it takes a trained ear plus a deep understanding of audio engineering to master a track effectively. This is where those years of experience, listening to music critically, playing with sound, it all comes together.
It sounds like a career with a really steep learning curve, but also one that's always evolving, which I imagine keeps things exciting. I'm guessing RoleCatcher's platform comes in handy here. I noticed they have a cool feature that analyzes job descriptions and suggests ways to improve your CV.
Yeah, they really get how fast this industry moves. And it's not just recording techniques that are changing. Think about how we listen to music now. Streaming, instant downloads, it's a completely different world.
That's true. We're streaming on demand, downloading podcasts in seconds. Everything is digital. Everything is NW.
Right. And that creates a lot of challenges, but also a lot of amazing opportunities for people wanting to become recording studio technicians. Anyone can technically record a song these days with just a laptop and some basic software, right?
Right. Which is where that whole oversaturation of musicians thing comes in, right? If everyone's a producer now, how do you stand out?
That's the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
And it's why it's more important than ever to really know your stuff.
So how do you stand out in such a crowded field?
Well, it's not enough to just know the basics anymore. You've got to stay ahead of the curve.
So you're saying aspiring recording studio technicians need to be plugged in to new technologies, software updates, audio trends, all of it.
Exactly. It's a fast-moving industry.
Yeah.
They need to offer something unique, something special, whether it's a signature sound, a certain style of mixing, or maybe they're a master of a particular music genre.
Right, like they're the go-to person for recording death metal.
Exactly. Or maybe it's just their ability to connect with artists on a deeper level, to really understand their vision. Whatever it is, they have to set themselves apart.
So it's this balance of like mastering the fundamentals, the technical skills, but then also pushing those creative boundaries, trying new things, experimenting.
And that's what makes this such an exciting field. There's always something new to learn, a new sound to explore, a new sonic challenge to conquer. It's never boring, that's for sure.
But let's be real for a second. As cool as this all sounds, RoleCatcher doesn't sugarcoat things. They also highlight some of the realities of this career path, which, we want to be upfront about.
Of course. It's not all sunshine and rainbows.
They mention the competitive landscape and the fact that income can be, shall we say, a little creative.
Right. It's true, like many artistic fields, there's no guarantee of instant success, especially when you're just starting out.
So it's not all glamorous recording sessions and platinum records.
Huh. I wish. But that's something we can dig into next. Let's unpack those realities, the pros and cons of this career, so you can really know what you're getting into if you choose this path.
It's easy to romanticize this career, right? You're like, I could be hanging out with rock stars in the studio all day writing those sound waves to a Grammy.
Right. Living the dream.
But RoleCatcher, they don't sugarcoat things. They keep it real about the challenges, too, which is important.
Definitely. It's not always easy, especially when you're first starting out. Like any creative field, it has its ups and downs.
So it's not all like glamorous recording sessions and platinum records on the wall.
Huh. Wouldn't that be nice?
I know, right? So let's get into it. What are some of those hurdles someone might face on this career path?
Well, let's address the elephant in the room, the income. Building a steady client base that takes time. And in the beginning, you might be, juggling freelance gigs, maybe a part-time job just to make ends meet.
It's the classic starving artist struggle, right?
Kind of, yeah. You might be working on your passion project, those late-night recording sessions, but then also, needing to pick up some extra work, like editing a podcast or something, just to pay the bills.
Right, right. So it's about being resourceful.
Definitely. And adaptable. Because speaking of adaptability, let's talk about those hours. Forget
Yep.
that 9 to 5 grind.
Okay, yeah, that's not happening in the music industry.
Not a chance.
Yeah.
A recording studio technician schedule, it often revolves around the musicians themselves.
Yeah.
And musicians, let's be honest, they're not exactly known for keeping regular hours.
I can only imagine the stories. Late night recording sessions fueled by coffee and creative
Oh,
sparks.
there are plenty of those.
Yeah.
It's demanding, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
You might be working weekends, maybe pulling an all-nighter to meet a deadline.
Oh man, the pressure.
It can be intense. Or maybe you've got everything planned out, and then bam, a band needs to reschedule a session last minute, and suddenly your whole week is thrown off.
Sounds like you need a serious love for this job to put up with all that.
You really do. Passion is what gets you through those tough times. But here's the thing, that passion, that drive to help artists create something special, it often outweighs the challenges. That's something RoleCatcher really highlights, that deep satisfaction you get from being part of the creative process, from witnessing those raw emotions being transformed into something extraordinary.
Yeah, you're capturing lightning in a bottle, those fleeting moments of inspiration.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's incredibly rewarding. But let's say someone is ready to embrace those late nights, the hustle, the whole shebang. What's the journey actually look like?
Right. How do you even break into this industry? Does everyone start as a studio intern, fetching coffee and like tidying up microphone cables?
Well, let's be real, there's probably going to be some of that early on.
Got to pay your dues.
Exactly. But those entry-level positions, they might seem like, not very glamorous, but they're honestly so valuable. You're getting that hands-on experience, which is priceless. RoleCatcher really emphasizes that. Because it's one thing to, learn about mixing consoles in a classroom.
Right, but it's completely different in the real world.
Totally. When you're in a real studio, working alongside seasoned professionals, you pick things up so much faster.
It's about soaking up all that knowledge, making those real-world connections.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to ask questions. Even if you think they're dumb questions, ask them. Make mistakes, learn from them. Everyone starts somewhere.
It's like any craft, you get better with practice and good mentors.
100%.
Hmm.
And speaking of skills, we've talked a lot about the technology. What are some specific software programs or industry trends aspiring recording studio technicians should be paying attention to?
Yeah, that's a good question. Where do you even begin? It feels like there's new stuff coming out all the time.
Right. It changes so fast. Well, for starters, knowing the industry standard DIWs, that's essential. We're talking about programs like Pro Tools, Logic Pro, Ableton Live.
Yeah.
You've got to be proficient in at least one of these.
Are they all pretty similar?
They share some similarities, but they each have their quirks and strengths. Some are better for certain types of music production than others.
Got it. So it's worth taking the time to really learn the ins and outs of at least one of those programs.
Definitely. But the thing is, it's not enough to just know the software inside and out. You have to bring something else to the table, that creative spark. That's what sets people apart.
So you're saying you have to be able to connect with the music on an emotional level, not just a technical one.
Exactly. A really good area. Recording studio technician, they don't just hear the notes, they feel the music,
They understand how to use all those fancy tools to enhance the artist's vision.
Right. And honestly, that's something you develop over time. By listening to a ton of different music, like really listening critically, and by experimenting with different recording techniques, trying new things.
So much of it is just being in the studio, getting your hands dirty, playing around.
100%. And collaborating.
Hmm.
The more you work with different artists, different genres of music, the more you develop that instinct.
It's about capturing the soul of the music, not just making things sound good.
You got it. It's that artistic sensibility.
Yeah.
And that brings us to another really important thing for aspiring audio engineers.
Mm-hmm.
Building a strong portfolio. RoleCatcher talks about this a lot, and for good reason. In such a competitive job market, it's not enough to just say you're a skilled engineer.
Right. You have to be able to show it.
Exactly. So how do you do that?
Good question.
Well, you have to have the goods. Your portfolio is like your sonic resume. It showcases your skills, your style, your experience.
So what would you say to someone just starting out? Is it just about recording as many bands as possible?
It's a great place to start. Offer to record your friends' bands, volunteer at local studios, maybe try creating your own soundtracks or sound effects.
Even if it's just for, like, a friend's YouTube video or something.
Anything. The more you do, the more you learn. And remember, quality over quantity, it's better to have a few really strong tracks in your portfolio than a bunch of mediocre ones.
That makes sense. And I bet RoleCatcher has tools to help with that too, right? I think I saw something on their website about portfolio building
Oh
features.
yeah, they've got some really great resources. They even help you create a professional online portfolio, which is essential these days.
Everything's online. It's like your digital business card.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you've been practicing, honing your skills, building up your portfolio. What's next? How do you actually connect with artists and studios who need your expertise?
Right, because you could be the best kept secret in town, but if nobody knows about you.
Exactly. It doesn't matter. You've got a network. That's another thing RoleCatcher stresses. Networking is huge in this industry. Going to industry events, connecting with people online, even just like hanging out at local music venues. Yeah. It's all about building relationships.
Because I'd imagine the music world is a pretty tight-knit community, right?
It really is. And people hire people they trust, not just, someone who's good with software, but someone they actually enjoy being in the studio with.
Someone who's easy to get along with,
Yeah,
who brings good energy to the table.
right. Because at the end of the day, you're collaborating. So having those people skills, those interpersonal skills, that's almost as important as the technical stuff.
It's about the whole package, the talent, the skills, and the personality.
Exactly. And that actually brings us to a really interesting question that RoleCatcher brings up.
Yeah.
In an age of, artificial intelligence, where computers are getting more sophisticated all the time,
hmm
what role will the human element play in the future of sound engineering?
That is the question, isn't it? With all this talk of AI, it's easy to wonder if humans are even needed in the studio anymore.
Right, like, will robots be replacing us all soon?
Well, let's hope not, but seriously, it does make you think.
It does, especially with the tech we have now. We've got these AI programs that can do some pretty incredible things with audio, analyzing sound waves, suggesting EQ adjustments, even mastering entire tracks.
It's kind of mind-blowing when you think about it.
It really is. So it's a valid question. Is there still room for that human touch? That artistic instinct and intuition that, maybe a computer can't replicate?
Because at the end of the day, music is about emotion, right? It's about telling stories, connecting with the listener on a deeper level.
100%. And that's where I think the human element will always be essential. AI can analyze data, but can it really feel the music?
Can it understand what the artist is trying to convey, how they want the listener to feel?
Exactly. And even if it can it translate those feelings into, like, the perfect mix, the
Yeah.
perfect balance of instruments and effects?
It's about capturing that magic. And that's something that goes beyond just like technical perfection.
Absolutely. Think about your favorite albums, the ones you keep coming back to year after year. Those albums, they have a certain something special.
A certain je ne sais quoi, as they say.
Exactly. And I think a lot of that has to do with the human element, the
Yeah.
passion and the artistry of everyone involved. The artists themselves, the producers, the engineers. Those recordings, they're infused with that creative energy, you know, and it's something you can feel when you listen to them.
It's like they're capturing a moment in time, preserving it in sound.
Yeah.
And that's something an algorithm can't replicate.
You said it. And that's what I love about this career path. You get to be a part of something bigger than yourself. You're helping artists bring their vision to life, and in doing so, you're creating something that will hopefully move people, inspire them,
hmm
maybe even last a lifetime.
That's a pretty amazing feeling, I imagine.
It really is.
Yeah.
And for those who are drawn to this path, who have that passion for music and that technical curiosity, I think RoleCatcher can be an amazing resource.
For sure. They offer so much valuable information on this career path.
Totally. They break it down, make it accessible, give you the tools to, navigate the industry, build your skills, and hopefully find a way to make your mark.
It's all about finding that perfect mix. Well, there you have it, listeners. A deep dive into the world of recording studio technicians.
We've explored the magic, the challenges, and I'd say a very exciting future for anyone willing to take the leap.
And who knows, maybe someday one of our listeners will be the one behind the mixing board shaping the soundscapes we know and love. Until next time, keep those ears open and keep exploring.
See you next time.